Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by our Patreon supporters and CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day. I don't know what happened there. And our co-sponsor, CardHoarder.com, where you can find the best inventory prices and delivery of cards for Magic Online. I am Evan Irwin, and we get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, Aaron Campbell.
Hi.
And Ruben Bressler.
Hi there, how are you?
I started saying two URLs at the same time.
Oh, did you? I missed what you did.
I
didn't know if you had a different pronunciation of anything. I couldn't, because you started laughing and I couldn't tell what you were mispronouncing.
Right. It was. I started to say Cool Stuff Inc. and somehow cool stuff in Card Hoarder got together. It was awkward. It's
cool
fine.
Starters.
Sure things and
Cool
stuff.
Hoarders, where you can find cool stuff in line. Every cards.
We're also going to start with our trumpet blast, where you can get one of these if you support us at our highest level on Patreon. We don't have one this week, however. If you'd like to,
That's
could make it happen. But we're going to kick it off with the giveaway and the first pick. The giveaway this week is a $50 gift certificate to CoolStuffInc.com. Because I'm swearing, what is wrong? It is a $50
He
gift
hasn't had
certificate.
anything to drink.
It's because Aaron referenced Beyonce right before we went online, and he can't focus anymore.
That's weird. But yeah, so a $50 gift certificate to CoolStuffInc.com. Check the link. Ruben can provide said
I got
link.
you.
Thank you.
I'll feed you baby birds. We're on this. All right.
Sweet. Well, we get to the
Just don't eat the baby birds.
That's right.
Don't eat the baby. That we've had that conversation now. First pick this week, because we have so much awesome things to talk about this week. It has been a busy week in the Magic world. MTG Arena today got some updates. Some big updates, in fact. The complete standard is going to be in by June 7th. I believe all these updates are for June 7th. So on June 7th, you're going to have the complete standard, which means they're adding in Kaladesh block and welcome decks. Everyone's going to get a welcome deck. Everyone is going to get 2 of each common and uncommon in Kaladesh block, 1 of each rare and mythic, and also a full play set of, I believe it's the 15 most played cards, like Fatal Push, Chandra, Aethersphere Harvester, Glint Sleeve Siphoner, stuff like that, like all the biggies. Because at this point, it's about to rotate anyway in the fall, and so they're just kind of giving you a huge leg up there, which is cool. Draft is going to be available 24/7. The only thing that's going to change week to week is the set you're drafting, which is fine. Best of 3 in standard, finally, with sideboards. We got there.
So they did confirm sideboards.
Yes.
Okay. Because all I saw was best of 3.
No, best of 3 in competitive league, like in competitive, best of you play 8 matches or whatever, and however many you win, however many prizes you get. They're doing a weird singleton format, but they won't call it Brawl. Don't call it Brawl.
Well, there's no
singleton.
commander.
Right. You could just add a commander and just have Brawl.
That's probably a lot to try to what's the word, code in right after you're trying to launch it and have it launch without a hitch. Just simple singleton to start with. We'll try to crawl before we can walk a little bit.
And that's fine. Ultimately, the idea of a singleton format is cool. If it's leading to Brawl, I'm also okay with that. That's like, if this is step 1 to get Brawl on MTG Arena, you can say that. That's not a problem. Just to say, like, we're playing a singleton standard for singleton standard's sake, like, that doesn't really mean anything. So whatever. The rewards are going to extend out to 15 wins, I believe, at 15 wins a day, versus the existing one. Gem and pack bundles have been added to the shop. Before, you can only buy, I believe it was gems. And you traded those gems for packs, so now you can buy bundles of both. Clearer matchmaking ranks. I don't know what that means.
Right. So basically, it used to be that when you played, oftentimes you would not be paired up against people who matched your rank very closely. Mm-hmm. Like you would be a rank 4 playing against an 8, or you'd play a bunch of 1s in a row if you were a 5. Now that there's going to be a clearer ranking system, and hopefully a better pairings algorithm to go along with the release.
Sure. So that's awesome. And lastly, some minor visual updates, whatever they happen to be, of course.
Right.
Also, they announced that Lee Sharp is going to be joining the MTG Arena team, and then Ali Medwin is going to be the new digital product manager for Magic Online. So a little bit of changing of the guard there.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, so absolutely.
Get that shield ready. Make sure it's flame retardant.
Right.
Just get behind it, because it's going to be crazy.
I love Ali. I couldn't be happier for
Lee,
her.
#blame Ali.
Blame Ali, yeah.
Oh, yeah. We worked together at Star City Games for a while. which was terrific. And we reminisce whenever we.
The other thing I want in the updates, and I hope that they continue to follow in Hearthstone's footsteps with this, is not just visual updates, but audio updates. I want the cards to make those cool sounds when they hit the board. I'm really on board with like all the merfolk splash when they come into play, and like obviously the history of Benalia has the really beautiful stained glass window like full screen thing happen, but it's also got that sort of church echo song that happens. I want more of that. I want more, not just as somebody who likes voice acting and voice actors. It's a little bit of self-fulfilling there, but I want to hear the game as well as see it.
Well, Lee asked what was your favorite thing and what was your least favorite thing. And I had answered that the gameplay is super smooth. That's my favorite thing about it. Like, it is really nice, smooth Magic. Once you get used to the interface, you don't accidentally attack with everybody. Like, it is really terrific. There's an easy way to do it.
Or tap all the wrong lands.
Does that happen often?
Yeah. You can tap right into attacking with everybody. It defaults to all attack. But again, gameplay is nice and smooth. My problem is that my cards can sit in my collection forever, and someone else had mentioned the word agency. There's no agency towards your collection in many ways. Once you get that crap mythic in the pack, you're going to have that for the rest of your life. So that's cool. The lack of a Hearthstone-style dusting system is a bit of a problem. Right. Being able to turn, I don't care how bad the rate is, to be able to turn 4 mythics into 1 mythic or whatever, give me something. But don't give me, you're going to have this card forever and ever, amen, with literally no way to ever get rid of it.
I mean, I get a pretty bad rate whenever I sell my old bulk to the dealer at a GP. Physical cards. Sure. It's fine. I get something out of it, though. And so in order to get anything out of them would be nice.
Yeah. Would be very nice. So that said, some really cool updates. If they can solve the crap rares is in your collection forever and ever, I will start spending money there, because at this point we do have standard. We have the whole standard, and that's cool. But you got to give me something, and right now we got nothing, and so cool. Gather the townsfolk. It is time for Pro Tour Dominaria. Pro Tour Dominaria is this weekend. Should be a hell of a show.
Absolutely,
Play the game, see the Richmond. I swear to God.
That's the capital of the Confederacy, mind you. All right, there's some good sightseeing down there in the Richmonds.
If someone who happened to be involved in organized play is listening and cares, they don't. But if they were and they did, my suggestion would be to find a place in Seattle and make it really sweet, and that's where you hold every single Pro Tour.
Yep.
Every single one. And
I'm as big a fan of the River City as much as the next guy, but there's trouble in River City, and I'd much rather put everything up in Seattle, like you just recommended.
I just like, don't you want to go to like the Mecca of Magic?
Seattle's great. And it's always temperate. It's always cool. All of the folks who work on the game will get to come out to the event. Yeah, it's great.
Absolutely. So one of the things that I had promised, and we'll get to the draft. Let's go ahead and get to the draft, and I'll add this bit in here so I can talk about it later.
Okay.
Cool.
Who's going first?
Who is going first? Well, who won the Rivals of Ixalan draft?
I feel like I had like a 60% odds of having won it because I've won most of them.
All right.
But
look at this guy. I've won most of them.
I mean, I have.
Ruben Bragsler.
Wow. Well, the last one, Ruben had 261 points. Aaron had 230. I had 225. So we will go in reverse order, where I will choose first.
Yep.
I think. I mean, is that not fair?
No.
Top seed gets the reverse. So we're going to do 3 individuals and a team, and we're going to take all of the match points won by all of those people, and that's going to be the ultimate score. That said, pick one, pack one. When it comes to Magic players, I'm gotta agree with Ruben on this one. I'm taking Seth Manfield.
Yeah. How do you ever pick against Seth Manfield?
Manfield is
just
so
Magic
good.
Tournament.
He's so good, and he runs so hot. So like, you gotta be careful. So that said, Aaron, what is your pick?
Yeah, go ahead.
My first pick is going to be a young man that you actually got to spend some time with today, Evan. In fact, you posted a selfie with him, and getting to work with this player was one of the highlights of my time at Card Hoarder. I really enjoyed getting to know him and really getting a good understanding of what he's done for Brazilian Magic. My first pick is Willie Edel. I love Willie so much.
He was great.
I love him, and I was with him in Build Out at the last Pro Tour where he didn't really do so hot, but I'm hoping that he can turn it around for this one, and I'm always pulling for Willie, and he's just such a triumph. I just adore him.
He was super great. We sat around, we chatted for about 10 minutes or so. And I talked to him about the Pro Tour, about, hey, he was in the shop and whatnot.
That's
and
awesome.
How things are going.
I had no idea that he came in and visited. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was
That's
super cool. Yeah.
Great choice. Yeah, he's a lovely dude.
Yeah,
Just
he's great.
Always nice to see him do well.
Well, I got to ask him, as I had the opportunity, I said, well, look, they're making you turn in your deck list on Wednesday. Like, I remember, you and others scribbling in the sideboards on the morning of or whatever. And, it wasn't that a thing. And he said, yeah. He said, but it's fine. He's like, it just gives me a day to relax. He's like, he has to travel on Thursday, gets to relax, and then play the big show. Well, actually, he could last on Thursday and play on Friday. So, yeah, to him, it was actually not that big of a deal. And I think, at least the way I've seen, the better or more seasoned the Magic Pro, the less they really care. Like, yeah, they care. But at the end of the day, usually one or two changes here, they're not going to make a big difference. Now, if you break it the night before, that's unfortunate. But
Shota.
ham sandwich, just, I found this over here and I'm going to win. Okay, top 8. Sweet. But Willie is great, and it was awesome to see him and catch up. Ruben, what's your first pick?
My first pick is going to be the current world champion, William Huey Jensen.
Mm-hmm.
He has lots of Pro Tour success, and even with all that success, I actually think that he's run below expectation for his career. I think that he actually probably should have more than 5 Pro Tour top 8s lifetime based on how good of a Magic player he is. And oh, by the way, he is currently the world champion, 1/3 of the best team in Magic, 1/6 of possibly the best team in the team series in Magic. And when you have that sort of brain trust to work with, you have a really good shot at breaking formats and knowing how the limited format works. And I believe in William Huey Jensen.
I believe that he is an amazing Magic player, and I won't be ever as good as he is.
Yeah, I mean,
with a snake,
that's gonna be true for, I think, everyone we pick in this Dominaria draft. So
sure. I mean, that bar is pretty low, let's face
it.
Yeah. Ruben, as you got to pick the last, you also get to snake around and get another one.
All right. Well, I don't want to, you know what, if you guys want to pick one of the other members of Peach Garden Oath, wink, wink, then I'll let you guys have an opportunity in the next couple of rounds. But for this particular pick, I'm going to buy into a little bit of a hype article that I found on Channel Fireball today by Florian Koch, who's been doing a feature spotlight on certain players over the past couple weeks. And, pointing out a couple of people that he thinks might have a breakout performance at the upcoming Pro Tour. So I'm going to pick, and also this player is one of the best Twitter follows in the history of Magic, Seva1, because he figured out how to have the Pro Tour ranking system before Wizards did. Like, he had all the spreadsheets and knew how to do it all. So I'm going to pick Sveinung Bjornerud, as my second pick.
You're going to have to spell that one.
I'm going to have to spell that one for you. But if you want to follow him on Twitter, at SENE1. All right, he's a Norwegian pro. He's very talented. I think he won a Grand Prix earlier this year. He's going to be my under the radar pick.
SNE.
I pasted it in the chat. There's an O with a slash through it.
Oh my God.
There's stuff happening. All right.
Too southern for this.
Bjornerud. I'll paste it in the thing.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Aaron, what is your second pick?
I got to go with my family. I got to go with the fam. My second pick is a streamer. They are an English national champion. They are a future Magic Online championship competitor. They are 1/4 of the Proven Combatants podcast. Hashtag Transmafia, I'm choosing my friend Autumn Burkett. Autumn's going to be at this Pro Tour. They've been working very hard. They've been practicing. They've had an amazing year so far, and I'm just rooting for them so hard. I'm so glad they're back on the train, and I really hope that they can kill it.
Awesome. Well, I'll go and snag this pick while I can. I want to take Reid Duke because you had your chance. Twice.
I was playing hard to get, Evan, okay?
Well, I got. You know what I'm saying? And I want to take somebody who has performed very well in the past, is an incredible pro player, and that would be Andrea Mangucci.
Love the Gooch, yes.
He's super, super good. I hope he continues to do well, obviously, in this event. Aaron, what's your number 2? Or number 3, rather?
My number 3 is somebody I've chosen before, but I have more of a reason to choose them than I did before. I like to cast what I call a silver fox ballot. I love me a silver fox, and I picked this person once before, but since then, I've really come to appreciate them. Not only are they a good Magic player and a good Magic writer, but they've also been breaking into coverage, and I just discovered recently that they're a hell of a cook. They're like single-handedly cooking for their team, and the food looks amazing. The pictures are to die for. My third choice is Eduardo Sagalik. I think I said it right. Sagalik, something.
Yep.
Something.
But yeah, spell it for me.
I believe it's Sagalik. There might be a J in there.
Sajg.
Thank you. But I mean, he does it all. I mean, who doesn't want that in a player? Who doesn't want a well-rounded Pro Tour competitor like that? So my third vote is for Eduardo.
He's got all the things that matter. He's got the cooking chops. He's got the silver hair. That's all that you need. Really.
Coverage. He's good at coverage.
Also, excellent coverage. Fills out that suit jacket. Nice.
Yes.
Right.
All right, fair enough. So that means we're going to close it out here with Ruben's pick for the individuals.
There's a distinct lack of Japan on this top 9 that we're picking here, so I'm going to have to, even though he's going to have to turn his deck list in before the night before the tournament, I'm still going to go with Shota Yasuoka, former Hall of Famer, world champion, et cetera, et cetera. He's got all the bona fides. He's tops on my list.
Oh, Shota is so very good. So that means we also get the opportunity of picking teams now, which we'll do in reverse order. For that one, I also came in last. That feels good. It's great, isn't it?
You went from Evan Irwin to Evan last.
Irwin to lose.
Well, I gotta tell you, if you're gonna ride the Japan train, that's a good train to hitch yourself to. Musashi is the one.
Musashi's the one.
Yeah.
That's right. Good choice.
And that was Ruben's pick from Pro Tour Rivals Big Salon, and he crushed it. So, Aaron, what is your team choice?
I'm going to choose a different region or a different culture to sort of throw my lot behind. Again, with me working with Cardholder in the past, I've had the pleasure of getting to know different teams and different players, and I always enjoyed my interactions with this team. They were friends with a lot of the guys on Cardholder Brazil. I captured a lot of really great moments with them, and they've had a pretty good year as well, particularly Luis Salvato.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Hararia Latin. With Lucas Esper Berthud, who I love, Marcio Carvalho, Sebastian Pazzo, Carlos Ramao, yes, Luis Salvato, Thiago Saporito, absolute sweetheart of a guy, Thiago. Just all the guys on this team are just so sweet. I love just everything about them. So much fun. I wish them all the happiness and success in the world.
Luis Salvato currently ranked number 3 in the world, only behind Reid and Seth. So, you got some good, a nice workhorse right there up front.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So, Ruben, close us out here for the entire draft of Pro Tour Dominaria.
I mean, if you're going to let me have it, then I'll take the top-ranked overall team after Pro Tour Rivals of Ixalan, the team that features Andrew Cuneo, Reid Duke, John Finkel, William Jensen, Paul Rietzel, and Owen Turtenwald. I guess I'll have to settle for Team Ultimate Guard Pro. Gonna have to go chalk on that one. I mean, that's a lot of names. That's a lot of Hall of Fames. That's
3 points
top
ahead of Musashi. That's all I'm saying. And Musashi,
Musashi
crushed it
killed it.
last
Obviously,
time.
Musashi killed it. But I couldn't pick Musashi. I could merely pick the team that features just like the best players that have ever played Magic. So I'm gonna go with that.
Yeah, I mean, your choice, Musashi, was 20%, at least 20% better than both of our options. It was ridiculous.
Wow.
Got blown out. Well, we will see what happens at Pro Tour Dominaria because, this is a heck of an event. I'm ready to see it. And the draft environment is so great.
Dominaria is such a fun draft environment. It was real tempting for me to want to pick like a Ben Stark or a Mark Chusa or a limited expert for my team as well. Because I think that this is such a cool, interesting, fun, diverse, limited environment where you can do anything from playing 15 lands mono red to 19 land blue-green mix-up like I like to do. There's just so much that you can do in this environment. It's such an amazing format.
All right, so we're gonna move on here to Battlebond. I had promised earlier today on Twitter that I would discuss Battlebond and how it's doing in the stores, how it's doing online.
Excellent. Let me get my notes. By which I mean I'm going to take notes. I'm taking notes from you.
I see. Okay, cool. Well, here's the thing. So there's a few sets that I looked at with the product manager over at Cool Stuff, and I said, okay, let's take a look at Battlebond versus Conspiracy versus Conspiracy 2 and versus Unstable. Okay? Now, it is doing very well. And we're talking about, again, these identical time periods. If you said, the week before release or whatever, how well were they doing comparatively? And I can't give you the exact numbers, because that's just stuff you don't share. However, I can give you things like Conspiracy 2 did quite a bit worse than Conspiracy 1.
Really?
Which was I was really surprised by that.
That is surprising.
Because I never looked up this data, so I was like, this is really fascinating. That said, the original Conspiracy did fine. Unstable crushed it.
Yeah.
As you would probably expect. Unstable was like an absolute phenomenon, and it was ridiculous. So, but think of how Unstable was a huge phenomenon and great. Battlebond is basically doing half of what Unstable was doing.
Really?
And that's very good. That is very, very good. That means it's doing somewhere in the realms of 3 times better than Conspiracy has been doing. So this thing has been really kicking it. And I think part of, and this kind of dovetails a little bit into the Professor's video that we'll talk about later, where the reprints in the set were fantastic. Every mythic is worth actual dollars, and the format is super innovative, and it has an unbelievable amount of commander cards. This is the closest to Commander Masters we've ever had. It's absolutely ridiculous. And
Tell us about the release events.
So here's been Battlebond's problem, okay? Here's the problem, is that you waited too long for everything. I understand that they enjoyed how Dominaria crushed, and Dominaria, man, is Dominaria. Right now, it's hard to get boxes of Dominaria.
Yeah.
But if you've got this set coming out, you have to tell people about it. You have to tell them what in the world is going on. Why are we drafting with less packs and all these other questions that they answered later, no problem, much, 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 much later. So you're a store. You're told to treat this preview just like a pre-release. You can't call it a pre-release. You call it a preview. It's not a pre-release. Everybody just remember that. It's not a pre-release.
Because this is not a standard.
I'm serious.
Set.
It's a preview. It's dumb. Can you not, Wizard? Seriously?
Because when you don't, and that's also a problem. Because when you call it a preview, people don't know what it is. People know what a pre-release is.
Right.
But functionally, it functions like a pre-release, right? Like it's still the week before.
But the promos you can't get on pre-release weekend. You can only get the promos on release weekend.
If you buy a box?
I think if you just play in the whatever, like the release events they have at the store. I'm not exactly sure.
So there's preview events.
Yes.
The following week there's release events, and the promos are only available during the release event.
That's correct. So you're told treat it like a pre-release. Do you not call them that? That's cool. So a pre-release is normally 4 rounds. You play 4 rounds, you pay out packs, whatever. Okay, cool. And so you create an event and you advertise it as such. And then Wizards is like, hey, could you run it for 3 rounds? And we're like, look to God. Because not only has this thing always been late, Battlebond has always been late in telling us everything. They've been late in telling us how they want to run the events, and that's really stressful because now everything changes, and you have to create brand new payout systems for the winners, and then you have to update the thing and make sure everybody is aware of that. And it's just one like wrench they really didn't need to throw in there. So that was awkward and frustrating. But that said, Battlebond is very successful. Is doing again. If you're doing half Unstable, Unstable was unbelievable. So this is very, very good. It's kicking Conspiracy's butt, quite frankly. And I think that's a terrific thing. And from the store level, like from the players in the stores, all of them are super hyped. They're incredibly high. All the multiplayer players, all the EDH players, the casual players are super pumped because this is like the best multiplayer set ever. And and it's not primed necessarily to explode, but it's primed to do very, very well. And this is where I'm just like, Wizards, please don't overprint the product. It's okay that sets are worth money and good, and we got in on them, and you have a reprint, but you don't go nuts. Keep the game collectible, so on and so forth. But there it is. So that's real stuff that we're seeing both online and in store, as promised. And yeah, it looks like a great set.
Good.
Yeah.
Kudos Wizards, way to go. All right, so Seb McKinnon, Aaron, tell us a little bit about the Kickstarter that you have backed. You have put your dollars into.
This was tough. This was really tough. So Seb McKinnon is an artist that we've talked a lot about recently. He's had a really great year, what with Dirge of Dread and other. I think he won an award for Stasis. It was for his take on Stasis, and so he.
Award.
Magic Man Sam made a whole video about him, which he doesn't do for just everybody. So you have to be doing good work for Magic Man Sam to highlight you. But Seb McKinnon decided to launch a Kickstarter, which we've also seen several artists do as a way to be able to provide playmats and prints and merchandise, because that stuff isn't cheap. And so if you can have your fan base kind of help you out with that, that's a good thing. And so he launched this Kickstarter, which I discovered the other day. And it started out innocently enough. He had like 3 or 4 art choices available, one of them being In Tomb. Oh my god! And then you scroll down, and then you see that like he has stretch goals where if he reaches certain milestones, other pieces become unlocked. For example, the Twilight Prophet in particular, which won't have all the GP garbage on it. It's going to be just the pure thing. That art is beautiful. You're not going to have a CFB symbol on it. You're not going to have a city on it. It's gorgeous. And you get down even lower, and if he reaches another stretch goal, he's going to open like a vote where you can vote on like any piece of his, and then he'll make that a playmat, like Dirge of Dread.
Yeah, the new Dirge of Dread art is
so I managed to find it when the Kickstarter had just launched, and like you want to hope for the best. So I was like, all right, we'll just do like a playmat. Like, we got like 3 months. Who knows what'll happen. Cut to today, and he's knocking on $40,000 his door. Like, what? And he deserves it. He deserves all the coins. And just, I don't know. I predict that I'm going to be increasing my pledge because I can't choose which mat I want. They're all amazing. He's so freaking talented. Even the weird hourglass looking one with like bones.
Chrono Stutter.
I would even take that one. Like, they're all gorgeous. And like his Kickstarter's successful. He deserves it. I wish him all the best. And if you're not funding this, you need to, because these mats are rare. And I think I also heard something about the way that he has ratioed them, or like the way that he's expanded them. Might want to hit up Mike Linneman's Twitter for clarification, but something about that is really novel too, which has the Vorthos is really excited that you're really getting more of the image in the playmat, which is great.
Well, and the only thing that bugs me is the little Planeswalker symbol in the corner. Was that really necessary? Like, you have your Ultra Pro, you have your copyright. Do you really need it up there?
That might have been something. So I'm under the impression that Wizards had to approve this, like the art usage and things, and so maybe that's a concession they had of like, we'll let you do this, but you need to have some association with us, maybe.
As I understand it, and I've been through the process before, basically it needs the Ultra Pro stuff, it needs the copyright stuff, and the Wizards product in the corner. That's all it needs.
Okay.
As I understand it, again, this is the artist's choice. I would not have made this choice because, again, for me, it's all about the art. Making it all about the art. So you're like, Twilight Prophet, finally, with a thing in the corner. Like, I want all the art. I don't want you to get anything on,
Kibblejig Witches, though. The new Kibblejig Witches artist. And Death to the Deathless.
Yeah.
I mean, my God. Pale Rider of Trostad, Bearer of Overwhelming Truth, Archfiend of Ifnir. I mean, Topple Guys, Steven. You could vote for Topple Guys. Like, my God, just killing it. Or even you can even just get prints. You don't even have to get playmats. You can just settle for
the prints are really interesting for me because I have a ton of playmats. I can't get rid of playmats at this point. There's just so many. But the prints, I think, are fascinating. And I have long considered, maybe I should go get some of my playmats framed to just put them on my wall. Well, that's a lot easier to do with a piece of paper than a 3 millimeter thick piece of rubber with some cloth on it. That's a heavy item. I'm sure if you've lugged around a playmat for a 10-round tournament, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And when you've got, I must have 30 in the trunk of my car or something ridiculous like that. So the ability to offer the prints is really attractive to me as well because, with somebody like Seb, you could very easily confuse a Magic the Gathering playmat of Seb McKinnon's for an art gallery piece.
And also, unrelated, Seb McKinnon has a great head of hair. I didn't know what he looks like. When you look at his video, gorgeous locks. Like, Seb, what's your secret? Let me know. Just beautiful hair.
Wow. Well, I'm scrolling through the Kickstarter right now so everyone can take a look. And again, there's no doubt that this is some high quality, absolute awesome stuff.
Yeah.
And it's
I
great
really
to see.
appreciate Seb putting out some of his pieces of art that maybe aren't the most famous cards of all time. I'm not sure that anyone's ever had a Bearer of Overwhelming Truths in play. I mean, it's pretty tough to flip a Daring Sleuth, right, to begin with, and that's not exactly a card that sees a ton of play.
Right.
And, also, I love me a Totalbiscuit. I love me an Odunos River Trawler. But these aren't exactly powerhouse standard cards. And so the fact that he's featuring them just, purely for their art value over everything else. A lot of folks, a lot of Magic folks, and more power to them, because of the popularity of the card, they can make the playmat. And he's not leaning on that at all, which I think is great.
Yeah. So good luck to Seb on making that happen.
Oh man, I just thought of a really great joke.
Go on.
Are you a Toppelgeist or a Bottomgeist?
Nope.
Why am I not
unacceptable?
I
Nope.
don't know.
Wouldn't that be a bottle geist? No.
A
Bottomgeist.
Bottomgeist.
A Toppelgeist or a Bottomgeist?
Well, okay.
Well, I don't like these.
Well, this goes into another.
Aaron likes the topple to do something.
Oh my God.
Toppelgeist only.
there you go. Well, our good friend, the Professor Brian, decided to take a look at the Kibblejig that we were talking about last week.
Yeah.
And this thing, 7 days to go, $62,177. They have broken every single stretch goal. I think he added some more to go above 60. Yeah, at this point, you have additional options. And, again, for me, this is a niche product. It's the perfect way to sell this type of niche product, is to get to the masses who care about it and give them something really unique. They working with the artist thing, I think, is fantastic. And the product is really cool. And the professor said the product is great. And again, I agree. I've seen it, play with it myself. The only two things I had an issue with, he had specifically said these are going to be fixed and worked on by the time the finished product is here. And that is fantastic. So take a look at that. You got a whole week left to see how high it can go. I mean, how high do we think this one's going to end up?
Well, he's got stretch goals all the way up to $75,000.
Mm-hmm.
That's a heck of a lot of dollars. The 60K is the big milestone where he'll be able to unlock different colors and also the clear boxes for folks who are ordering these. So it'll be interesting to see how far he can go.
The good people on kicktraq.com, kicktraq.com, do a lot of analysis, and they do trends on how well they're going to do. And they predict currently that it's going to trend to $83,000.
Wow.
That's a heck of a thing. So with the low range being 76,000, the high range being 106,000. So, it's going to be a big one, and more power to them. Congratulations to Kibblejig for doing such a great job.
Yeah,
man. Go Rico, go. All right, cool. So Spellslingers is back. Yay!
Thank goodness, finally.
Where Day 9 gets to play his buddies and or special guests, and plays a really sort of reality show-esque type editing and storytelling about a game of Magic, which is really interesting.
And also, if you go to the video, all you have to do is watch about 10 seconds of it to see a bunch of M19 previews that are edited into the intro, which I thought was kind of hilarious. But yeah, I'm a huge Spellslingers fan. I mean, I've always been I think it's called a stan. I'm a Geek and Sundry stan. I watch all their garbage. All the Critical Role and all that kind of stuff. But this, and Spellslingers is one of the best things. I love it so much because it's such an entry level kind of, but like a fun half hour where I get to hang out with Sean and then also learn about some other nerd dude who lives in Hollywood and does Hollywood things. Or is an athlete, or is something else famous. And this week this first episode was Ari Stidham, who's an actor on the show Scorpion, which my mom loves. And he does also directing and producing. I think he's made a couple of musicals in LA as well. And yeah, it was just a very entertaining show.
Yeah, Day 9, my buddy from the Community Cup. I'm always happy to see him getting more time. I think he does good work, and he definitely has a great personality, and I love what he brings out of people.
Yeah,
really
and it's just a product that I'm so glad is back, because it was gone for a little while.
Yeah.
It was gone for a long time, actually.
Like
and
a year and a
that
half?
first season, I think, really brought people into Magic, brought people back into Magic.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of views on YouTube videos, I think that those Spellslinger videos, they hit like, I don't know, 750,000 to 1 million views each at least. And that's huge numbers for Magic content, bringing new people in who might not necessarily know what Magic the Gathering is. And so I think that this is a really important marketing tool for Magic to bring new people into the game.
Yeah.
Speaking of marketing tools, and interesting
You don't have to
ways.
call me a marketing tool, Evan. That's just mean.
Hey man, call him as I see him. Cool but rude. So CFB, Channel Fireball, has done something here to a new Reid Duke article, which is really interesting, and I've never seen this in particular before, where a third party has vocalized essentially and recorded the audio version of this article. They didn't write it by any means, but they are recording it for a podcast of Channel Fireball articles. And this is an interesting way to take something that you're already paying for. Like, they've already paid for Reid to write the article, and so to get that extra mile out of it, to create a podcast where you're able to have people continue to ingest CFB content in a different way. So you don't have to be looking at a screen. You don't have to just read it. You can listen to it on your way to work or whatever. And to also to put in the resources, because that whoever's recording this, their time isn't free. So you have to pay for that person to record and edit and upload this podcast, with the idea that the payoff of recording and editing and uploading the podcast is worth it. That to me is really fascinating.
Absolutely. I mean, I was a little disappointed that they didn't actually use Reid's voice. I got excited for a second there, because Reid has a great voice, and I was like, oh, sweet. And then it was some guy I'd never heard of before. But, obviously audiobooks are hot right now. Being able to listen to a book rather than being able to read it, you can listen to it in the car, on the go. That opens you up to a much wider audience. And so I think, like you said, I think they're one of the first websites to really capitalize on this, and I think it's great, and I hope they do it with other articles, and maybe it's something that, and some people, I think, even just process information differently.
Yes.
It's one thing to read it; it's another to have it told to you. You absorb it differently, and so I think this is great. I hope other websites do it too, and I would also like to see them maybe have the authors do it themselves. Being able to hear it from their words, especially if it's something that they've really lived or they're really passionate about. I'd love to hear from Sam Pardee or Brad Nelson or Reid. I think that's something they should consider.
Paying the author themselves for the audio would be another revenue stream as well for the struggling Magic semi-pro. I mean,
Absolutely.
that's a real consideration when you're making content. There's another interesting facet to this particular bridge being crossed, which, first of all, is shocking that it hasn't been crossed before.
Right.
It's very surprising that this is the first time that this has really, we've sort of bridged the gap between making podcasts and writing articles, and sort of, just read the articles. Is that there is a large percentage of not just the population at large, but the population of Magic and card game players specifically, who have different types of mental and physical handicaps.
Absolutely.
And being unable to read on a computer for extended periods of time, whether that is an eyesight issue, whether that's a lighting. I know a lot of folks can't look at a computer screen for more than a specific amount of time.
Like a strain type issue?
Yeah, they have the eye strain, something having to do with a brain or migraines, stuff like that, where you want to have it recorded so that you can listen to it and rest the part of your body that doesn't function as well. Just like when you have folks with auditory disabilities, they don't want to listen to podcasts, so they want to have a readable review of it. And so having access to all types of being able to consume this high quality product created by authors like Paulo and Reid and everybody else at Channel Fireball, lets folks with disabilities, in addition to folks who just would prefer one way of information than another, partake in the community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, again, for me, it's just, partly because, I run Gathering Magic, therefore I know, hey, would it be worth it for me to pay someone to, read these out loud and put this onto a stream? I would love to know. Feel free to let us know both in the chat, let me know on Twitter. These are things that I'm interested in because, again, this is a unique and at least novel way of showing and sharing Magic content that I've never seen before. And I, too, agree that, because Magic pros just don't get paid crap comparatively to almost any other esport, if you want to call it an esport, period. So for them to be able to do this for additional money would be nice.
It might also make them a little better in terms of speaking. We talked before about how, in esports and in other games, they get like media training and things like that. And I know Josh Lee Kwai had shared something the other day about encouraging podcasters to get better at not using words like and so it might make them more eloquent speakers, so like when they do deck text, you're not getting like, so I've got this deck and it's really great and I like cards, and so it might let them flex those muscles of becoming better speakers, becoming more entertaining or more eloquent, and I think that's an upside too.
Absolutely. I think that it is, now I don't have business insight for you, Evan, but it does seem like it is a net positive for the community at large to at least offer it.
Yeah.
I don't know what the cost-benefit analysis of that is per se, but for all the reasons we've just recounted, I think that this is just a standout home run idea. Well done, Channel Fireball.
Yeah,
right. I mean, but and so looking deeper into the things, because surprise, Magic players have egos.
Sure.
Whose articles get audio versions versus whose articles don't get audio versions, that will suddenly become a thing, and it's just a thing. You're dealing with type A personalities. It is what it is. And again, the cost of doing that and the maintenance of that and yada yada.
Now it is going to be an additional cost, and it is going to be a real cost because getting somebody's time for an audiobook or for to read teleplay of any type is a job in and of itself, as is noted here, because they got someone else to read this article, just a whole nother person. So I think that it's a good step. We are certainly nowhere near where Magic needs to be in terms of accessibility. I think that other video games are much better at that. There was recently a new product announced for Xbox where they have the new Xbox controller that has like giant buttons that are like this big for folks who have mobility issues. Magic doesn't have nearly as much to do in that sphere, but with what the tiny bit they have, they've done very little with, and so that would be nice if they took a couple more steps forward.
All right, so we got a lot to cover. There's still many more passionate things to talk about here, but as we all know, hashtag Baywatch.
We got our Baywatch. Yeah, let's get our Baywatch hashtags in the chat.
Reid Duke is Superman, and you literally can't make fun of him. I'm like, Reid's going to rescue cats from trees. Well, here we are on Mishra's Photoshop where he tried to parody him. And then, Huey Jensen says, we have good karma today because Reid Duke rescued a trapped bird on our way to the tournament.
How does he keep finding himself in these situations?
I mean, it's ridiculous.
I was in Miami when Reid won that tournament. And on the way from the convention center to the beach, where we took the famous winner's photo when he's got his hands behind his head, you know what I'm talking about? On the way to the beach, he helped change a gentleman's flat tire.
My God.
He has the best, either he is just like, he has the best marketing manager who's just like, all right, this is a great opportunity for us to get more of that good Reid cred, you know what I'm talking about? Or it's just like he's actual Captain America. It's crazy.
Never forget a couple of years ago, I actually brought it up on this show. I joked about the idea of having a feminist Reid Duke meme. If you're familiar with the feminist Ryan Gosling meme, I remember it was right around summertime. I was like, hey girl, let's discuss institutionalized racism while we wait for the pairings. And then some listener took it and ran with it, and then it got like hundreds of tweets, and I was like, oh no, and like, yeah. So just he just can't do any wrong, and God bless him.
That is fan-freaking-tastic. All right, so last thing here for Gather the Townsfolk is we have a new playmat for Commander. There's like a Commander package that you can buy at GP Vegas, which obviously we're attending. Yeah. And it is Sol Ring. Sol Ring is going to be, and this is the Masterpiece Edition, I think, as it were?
No, it's the Commander Edition.
It's the Commander one.
It's in the Commander sets, yeah.
Gotcha. And I'll bring it on the screen here in just a second. But, I think it's a really terrific pick. They did a good job on that one. Let me see. Let's get it up here right now. Bam. Cool. So
gorgeous.
I don't have a much larger image, which I would like to have, but maybe they'll post one later. But again, if you're going to have a Commander playmat, this is a pretty fantastic option.
Pretty nice art. It's too bad there's so much garbage, like you were talking about, just all over the. Like I want the art. You know what I mean? I don't want the extraneous, symbols and imagery. It's also a little awkward because this was also, I think this is the current original Magic art playmat sale that they announced both at the same time. So that's kind of awkward as well.
Oh wow!
Well, if you can't make it to the GP, giving people another way to get it.
Yeah, absolutely. They're both beautiful. So I highly recommend getting this playmat as in one form or fashion or another. So
and nothing was as bad as that 3-city with the little circle.
That was
no.
Yeah, that was less than spectacular.
That was some design by committee barf. All right, so moving on. Desperate Ravings, things getting a little crazy up in here. It's a good thing that Wizards didn't allow you to look at the Battlebond promo pack cards in any way, because then you would know that the Will and Rowan Kenrith, amongst others, maybe, I don't know, have alternate promo art that you can get out from them. Oh, wait, they totally screwed up, and you can tell literally exactly what is in every single promo pack.
Whoops.
It just made an awkward issue more awkward. It didn't need anything else to suck in this, because it's cool that they have promo artwork and they're really cool to play in pairs, and that's sweet. They're going to show up in packs together, and that's awesome. But like now you've just incentivized these stores to do bad things. Well, not incentivized, but you give them the option. And when you open that door, somebody's going to go through it. Somebody's experience is going to be lessened, and no one's going to get the Planeswalkers at the pre-release the release weekend, because again, that's not confusing, and that sucks. And Wizards, we got to do better. I'm not sure what else to say about it.
Yeah, this one was a solvable problem that is just not going to be a solvable problem anymore because it's already out in the world. It's just really unfortunate. Hopefully, I don't know what you do at this point. I guess you just hope and pray the stores shuffle them up and give them out randomly anyway.
At some point, someone had to get the final packaging, and at some point, somebody had to say, "You're good, go." And whoever that person was may or may not be at Wizards anymore. We don't know. But they sure screwed this judgment up. All right. Bigger woes, bigger problems, in my mind.
Regional size problems.
A regional Pro Tour qualifier size problem. Jeff Hoagland said, one of the many reasons he's a full-time meme and not chasing the Pro Tour anymore, which is hilarious, by the way, which is more sad with regards to MTG RPTQ events. The $75 entry fee to a constructed event, by the way, that you had to pay a bunch of money to enter in other tournaments for so that you can play in this tournament, or people getting capped out. Okay, so there's a couple problems with this that I have serious problems with. Now, first of all, let's go back. Originally, the RPTQs were going to be free. There was no entry fee in those. You know why? Because you spent the time and the trouble and a whole lot of money making the deck the best you could, practicing with it all the time, going and playing these events where you already had to pay $25, $30 or whatever just to play, just to get the opportunity to play in these events. There, apparently 3 RPTQs ago, the chains were off and entry fees could be charged, and they could be whatever those organizers wanted them to be. Well, here's what happens whenever you do that. The organizers are going to go and go and go as far as they can possibly go without being too obscene, because in a lot of areas, it's not that bad. You know, maybe it's free, or it's continued to be free, or it's like $30 or 30 euros, $10 a person, okay? Or you go all the way to the $125 a team, the $75 a team, the 140 euros a team. Like, that's a swing. That's a huge swing. And so, as I was learning more information about this, and people on Twitter, I appreciate the information, there's just some crazy stuff going on in there, and that people had let me know about. For example, here one person had mentioned that they qualified in the same store that the RPTQ is. When here it says Mr._Sparkles on Twitter says, "Nah, my RPTQ location is literally not renting any venue whatsoever, paying $35 per person when their normal PPTQs are $25. Why? Because screw you, that's why. Because they can, that's why. Like, that's really the only reason in that instance. Now, if you're renting a venue and you're trying to provide services or vendors or food or whatever, I'm not saying it's the end of the world, but if it's just more or less a ton of money that you can juice out of people because you have that opportunity, you're seeing what's happening right now. Well, one of the other things I found out was that Cool Stuff is running an RPTQ. You know what our entry fee is?
What's that?
$0.
Oh.
You know why? Because it's a gift that Wizards gives you to have hundreds, who knows how many people, and I'll get to that in a minute, to have hundreds of players who are absolutely invested and play at the highest level and buy cards and sell cards, to come into your store and be there, and to buy supplies, and to buy snacks, and to buy singles, and to sell cards. That's the whole point. That's why it's important to get those events. But if you're letting people charge whatever they can charge, again, same store paying $35 a person because they can. They're just taking advantage of players. And here's the last thing, Wizards. Oh my God. I don't know who thought this was a good idea, but this was the worst idea. Seriously, this is one of the worst. Ruben, go to the Magic Mike C's. Put it in there as one of the worst ideas of the year. One of the dumbest things. One of the dumbest things they did all year was decide to let, if one person is qualified, then the whole team is qualified. That was the stupidest possible way to do that. Even if you would have said 2 of the 3 need to be qualified, fine. Because here's your problem, okay? Let's say that you are told there are 400 people that are qualified around in your area, okay? So what you going to prepare for? You going to prepare for 1,200 people because you only need 1? You're going to prepare for 500 because maybe most people are qualified, but you don't know? Who knows? Yeah. That's partly why we have to cap in the first place, because you literally have no idea how big this thing is going to be. That was stupid. Don't ever do that again. Holy cow, that was bad. I mean, just righteously bad when it comes to running the event. Now, when you just say it, oh, it sounds super cool. Me and my buddies get to play in the RPTQ, but you ain't running the event. You're not doing logistics for that event, and it gets tough. Just, I can't. So there we are. There's the RPTQs, right? Charge whatever you want. Screw it. Versus, like, what should you be doing? What should Wizards be doing?
And this is all on top of the team format fatigue that I think that some of the pros had been referencing recently, which was that, you know what, we missed team events for a decade there, and now we have them, but this is a lot of team events. And it's all culminating in the team RPTQ system, where you're trying to get these smaller TOs who already have some issues. You know, they aren't, these are your mom and pop stop shops. These are not Channel Fireball every single time. This is not this is Aaron and Ruben's local gift store RPTQs. You know what I'm talking about?
Us owning a store together?
Nope. Cannot do it.
It'd be
would
quaint.
Not visit that place.
Wow.
That place has the owners there are not nice. So, and they do not run team events very well. So no, I'm kidding. But it's just another it's another problem that needs to be addressed now by people who have even less bandwidth than a tournament organizer like Channel Fireball. And so, for all of those reasons, in addition to this, it's just a lot.
It's also another strike against RPTQs. Like, it just feels like RPTQs have never really worked. I mean, if I'm being honest, and maybe I'm missing something, but I just feel like every time we're it's just always something where it's, it's a geographical thing where there aren't enough for certain countries and certain areas. And this isn't the first time I've heard about capping, and this isn't the first time I've heard about venue issues. And I just feel like every time RPTQ season comes around, it's, can we just go back to the old way? Like, it just feels like they've never really taken off. And it just feels like you're, kind of like that I Love Lucy sketch of, like, there's a hole in the boat, you plug a hole, another hole comes up, and your boat's just sinking. And so I don't know if going back is necessarily the right answer, or maybe there's a different way to do this, but it just feels like they've never really worked. The system just never really worked.
Yeah, the team RPTQ system, the RPTQ system, PPTQ system makes sense for certain geographical areas, and the old school PTQ system works for others. And I think that in order to lump everyone in under the same system, while that is equality, that is not equity. Right. That is not giving people. It's not the same for someone living in New York City as it is for someone living in Kansas, or someone living in Siberia, or someone living in South Africa. This is this has been sticking in my craw for a couple of weeks because I haven't been able to talk about South African Magic for a while. But they have a huge Magic scene there, and they haven't gotten a Grand Prix since 2001. You know why?
Wow.
Because their Grand Prix in 2001 got 70-some people at it, because it was the week after 9/11. And so as a result of that bad timing with their Grand Prix and people not being able to travel to it, and it was going to be a smaller tournament anyway, they just don't have tournaments. And so if you're a Magic player in South Africa, your closest RPTQ in this new system is in Europe.
I think Ralph Levy, didn't he do it? I know Ralph Levy's been doing these globe-trotting videos for TCG Player. Wasn't his first video about South African Magic?
I think it might have been.
That was something they mentioned, that like there's a scene there that just doesn't get catered to, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, absolutely. So
I mean, and they're not alone. That's an extreme example.
Brazil, I know I've heard stories from Card Hoarder Brazil. I interviewed them before the last Pro Tour, and they told me kind of the same thing, that like they get like 4 chances to qualify, maybe, and even then only 1 is in Brazil, and Brazil's really big, and so
Brazil's massive. If you put 1 in Rio, then the folks that live in Sao Paulo, or vice versa. Or, the 1 GP a year that Oceania gets, if you live in New Zealand and it's in Sydney, well, guess what? You're flying to this GP, or you're flying to these RPTQs. It's a system that works in some circumstances, does not work in others, and no system is going to be perfect, because you have to have some structure. You can't just cater individually. All right, this is how PTQs should work in the United States. This is how they should work in Canada. This is how they should work in Belgium. This is how they should work in Romania. This is how they should work in Japan. This is how they should work in Indonesia. You can't do that for every country.
No, you can't. That's too much logistics. But we got to keep going, because we got a lot to talk about. We don't have a lot of time. The professor put up a Tolarian Wins video this week, which is essentially his opinion pieces, where he
that's a card.
Tolarian Wins is a card. Yes,
yes, it is.
Thanks for joining the podcast, Aaron.
It also relates to Tolarian
Mike's
Academy. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, Master sets are sucking, and not only have they sucked beyond Modern Masters 2017, they've largely sucked pretty badly. And other people have said this. I've said this in various ways. Seth, Saffron, all of us said this in various ways. But the value of the packs went down basically immediately. Here's essentially what happened. They made Modern Masters, and they were like, "Oh, wait, everyone bought it? Wait, it's worth what?" And no one's selling it at MSRP, which is $6.99. Everyone's selling it like $10 or $12 or whatever a pack. And so they said, oh, well, we're going to increase it to $10 a pack. But then they decreased the value of the overall set. Yeah. Now, look, I know I understand they can't publicly, denote that they are paying attention to the secondary market, but is it a surprise that Cavern of Souls comes back as a mythic? I mean, come on, seriously. Everyone understands that cards need to sell packs. We get that. We have to do better, because if you're going to try to, at this point, stores have been bitten twice. Iconic Masters was a failure. Masters 25 was a bust. Who wants to buy the next one? Who wants to buy the next one? First of all, 2 master sets a year is too much. That is greed, and you need to cut that out. Secondly, that allows you, if you only do 1 a year, firstly, it makes it a yearly, very important event. Secondly, it lets you juice the living crap out of it. And third, don't print like a bajillion of them, okay? Don't. That's bad. It's weird how sometimes, and Unstable was like this, where they just kept going back to the cow. It's like, you gotta sometimes just let the collectible game be collectible. You don't have to do 4 frigging printings of a set. You can do a couple printings and then be done with it and let the cards have value. Because if you're going to open a master set, it should feel more like Cube, because right now they keep hiding behind that curtain of, we're building a perfect draft environment, with Thunderblust or whatever. And it's like, no, you're not. You're trying to say that it's okay to put in these terrible rares and these crap cards because it's important to your draft environment. Do you care that Snapcaster Mage is in there, but no other cards talk about Flashback? Who cares?
That was an interesting argument that I agree with. It's like, the card does say Flashback on it, but is that going to prevent it from ever being printed? Is that really... I mean, they print Tarmogoyf every Masters set. Just because it says Tribal in the reminder text, does that mean we can't print it in a non-Lorwyn-themed expansion? Of course not. So, I mean... It's frustrating on a couple of levels.
Oh yeah, and it's just ridiculous, and it's one of those things where, again, fool me once, shame on you; fool me twice, shame on me. Because now we've kind of been hurt a few times here. Wizards has tried to be double dipping, and I think failed spectacularly, and that's just a problem. And Wizards needs to fix it. And I think part of it is, the value needs to go up. There needs to be, the pie chart should be better good rares than bad rares. You know what I mean? That's how that should be orchestrated there.
This is going to sound like a random thing to say, but did you see that one of the reasons why Solo: A Star Wars Story was a failure at the box office was because it came out merely 5 months after the last Star Wars? Mm-hmm. That they say that people are experiencing Star Wars fatigue, that they need to have more time to be able to recharge those engines. People used to camp out and wait for those movies. Not so much for Star Wars. It was still a fine movie. It still made a lot of money, but not as much as they would have liked. Boy, that sounds familiar to this, don't it? It sounds exactly the same.
That's weird.
You can't release another Masters expansion 3 months after, Modern or Eternal Masters or Iconic Masters or Masters 25. It's like, everybody, you just need to have some more gap in between, let people recharge their engines and get back that love and feeling for the Masters sets that we had when they were first coming out.
It feels like, basically Hasbro put on some pressure. They found a way to move more product and to print really expensive cards twice a year instead of just once a year, $10 packs twice a year instead of once a year.
The $10 a pack problem is the big issue. And that was one of the things that he mentioned in his video, was that originally Modern Masters was $7 a pack. And that's the first step, is bring Modern Masters back to $7 a pack. And I think that doesn't solve all the problems, but it sure makes it hurt less. Like you're still getting you're still getting stabbed, but not as deep.
It was, and it's funny, and he mentioned that, because everyone's like, well, Tree of Redemption, there were crap mythics before.
Right.
But it's just the cherry on the turd sundae where you're like, this is where
emblematic.
We're at. This is where we're at. You're paid $10 to open this 50-cent mythic. Are you kidding me?
And before Tree of Redemption, it was Comet Storm in Modern Masters 2017. There was always it was Ryusei, even in the first Modern Masters. People are like, oh, what happens if I open Ryusei as my mythic? Well, it's going to happen, but you don't need to have it happen every time, and that's why Tree of Redemption really took off as the meme.
Oh man, so we gotta move on here to Magic's Stories Future. I don't. Now, and I haven't been able to read every single word of this, but you guys had sort of paraphrased it as Wizards is going in a direction similar to comic books, where you can have eras of the X-Men, you can have eras of characters, where characters are a certain way because a certain mind or a certain talent is behind them. And now you have this era of Daredevil, you have this era of Captain America, whatever. Now, why that is the preferred thinking, I do not know. Because I feel like that is a bad direction and that they should not go there. I feel like having characters who remain consistent, who have flaws, who grow and change over time and are able to, kind of, sort of be people that we know and learn about over time is a better way to go about it than say, well, it's the Justice League and sometimes, they write Cyclops this way and sometimes they write Thor that way and you're just going to have to deal with it. Because I think you could definitely see, and again, this to me is because something has to be the weakest. I think the worst part of Dominaria was the story. I think I read it, the rest of it today, and Jace is back to being a prick for no good reason, I feel. It just doesn't make any sense after you talk to this, sensitive, hurt, been through a problem, been manipulated in relationships, really had a connection with Vraska, really had something that made him feel vulnerable and interesting, and they're like, out the window, he's just pissed about Ravnica. See you on Ravnica, guys. Bye. Really?
So the interview, there was an interview done on Gathering Magic by Jay and Nelly where they
fabulous interview, by the way. As much as we are going to complain about the Magic story or about the direction it's going, this interview is aces.
Yeah, so they interviewed a young man named Nick Kalman, and he talked about Magic's future, and he basically said that they want to have it be like in comic books, where, they will have different, Spider-Man has different origin stories, and they want to make sure that each author gets their chance to put their own stamp on characters. So he gave an example of Jace. I guess Jace has a frostbitten toe, and he said that, for example, if the next author who takes the story wants Jace to take off his shoes and have 10 toes, they can do that. And it's just like and that they want different artists and that they try to stay out as much as possible. And they said that, for example, Alison Lures had done work on Dominaria. There were scenes that she had done, and there were discussions between him, Alison, and Martha on whether or not they were going to use Alison's scenes. And they decided that it was better for Martha to do everything herself rather than to incorporate the things that Alison had already done.
This is Martha Wells, by the way, for the viewers of the show.
Yeah.
Martha
So
Wells
the bottom line is that they want it
author.
to be more like comic books, and they want to give each author their opportunity to play in the planes and with the characters as they see fit. And it seems to be a very unpopular decision. Most of the Vorthoses I follow on social media are not happy about it. And it's just, for me, I keep coming back to the point that, you finally got people to like Jace. Ixalan was great at getting people to turn around on how they felt about Jace, and then you just throw it out the window. That just seems like a really poor decision. And I don't know why they think that. I mean, I'm not a comic book reader, so maybe this is something you all enjoy, but I don't understand why that's something you want to aspire to with this game and with these characters.
Well, again,
there are a number of things at play here, and a number of layers of the Magic community that have different levels of interest. Obviously, the most hardcore, the level 5 of the Inception group are going to be the official people who have the word Vorthos in their Twitter bios. And a lot of them are very upset about this because of all of the reasons you just outlined. One step up above that are folks like us, people who are very familiar with the Magic story, but we don't really... The nuance that is being discussed by folks like Jay, like our friend Michelle, who's on Lorgoyf's, A.E. Marling, all of the, Vorthos Mike, obviously, all the people who are Vorthoses, like Magic story people, we're a little bit back from that, and so we're a little bit outside of the blast radius. But in terms of the similarity to comic books, I don't necessarily... On the one hand, I understand why that's appealing, because all of the big movies are comic book related and all the big TV shows are comic book related. But it's not like we have... every author of a comic book gets their chance to tell Spider-Man's origin story. We're not retelling Jace's origin story. We're not doing the same story 4 or 5 times. Instead, what we're doing is trying to create continuity moving forward that is thrown for a loop with this new style. And so I think that trying to use that mold for this is round peg square hole kind of situation.
Did you see how mad the Vorthoses were over the word lich? Did you see that?
Yes.
So in the last story, Martha
stories,
Wells had said that Liliana was summoning liches, and they were like, "That's not what a lich is. She summoned zombies." And like, and I love zombies as much as the next girl, but even I was like, "It's not that serious, you guys." And it turned into a whole thing about what a lich is, what a zombie is, and then someone was like, "The D&D offices are next door. You could have asked them what a lich is."
Absolutely, you can walk 30 feet and ask them, or wait for Easter. We have the discussion of whether Jesus is a zombie or a lich every Easter.
So think about this. If there was only one X-Men comic that came out every 3 months,
right? Exactly.
Would you be really pissed off if all of a sudden Wolverine's doing something different, looks totally weird, has a different tone and manner? Like, I mean,
possibly, but X-Men reboots itself every 3 months almost anyway.
And it didn't. Well, back in the Claremont days, it certainly didn't have to. But the point ultimately is, to me, like that. I don't think that's a great analogy because there's so much in comic books, and it happens every month, and there's a bunch of writers on every single one of them, and even when they try to tie them all together, they have to work really hard to make crossover events work, and that's not happening in Magic. That's just not necessary at all. You're telling us through like 6 cards every 3 months that this is what's supposed to have transpired, and somehow I'm supposed to be okay with a new voice every 3 months essentially rewriting what I think or expect of these characters. That's not right. Here's my thing that really sticks in my craw about this, which is Dominaria is one of, if not the best, standard legal Magic expansion in recent memory. Yeah.
It is so good in limited. It's great for standard. It's resonant. All of the mechanics hit all the right buttons. Everyone loves it. Timmy, Johnny, Spike, new players, old players, kitchen table, tournament. Every single person loves it. And the story is the problem.
Yeah.
Let's go back 3 months. Rivals of Ixalan. It was not a great limited environment. The Spikes did not like it that much. It was underpowered. It didn't have that resonant feel to it. Sure, it had dinosaurs and pirates, and those are cool, but they weren't. It was not a popular set. It didn't sell well. People didn't particularly like it, and yet it had the most resonant Magic story in recent memory. What's the difference? It's the story team.
Yeah.
So I think that's the bottom of the page for me, is that they had something that worked, got rid of it for whatever reason, and now we have this, and this is not as good.
And I think if you were going to try something new, we've said in the past before that we appreciate Wizards at least trying something new, even if it doesn't necessarily work. But I think that there are sets that you could have tried something new on that shouldn't have been Dominaria. Like, Dominaria should have been like, if you decided that you didn't want to go this route anymore, let the story team have this last set. And then, we'll go to some godforsaken plane we've never been to before, and now we're going to try something new. I just don't think Dominaria should have been the one.
It would have been Ravnica. It would have been this fall,
I didn't say
right?
Ravnica. I said, if we went to a different plane. Let's say it was a new plane. Fine, let them cut their teeth on that, but not Dominaria.
All right, so we got to keep moving. I'm just going to close right here with Variant Human. I think this also pertains to Ruben a little bit. It's frustrating they're struggling with this so much, considering D&D is hitting it out of the park right now.
Yep.
Go next door. Go next door and talk to them about lore. Would you do that? Can you go just try to cross the hallway? I know it's tough. Everyone, there's a lot of silos and Wizards, and nobody wants to stick their nose in anybody else's business.
They are absolutely killing it in D&D right now. Yeah. They just came out with a new release, Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, which is basically a whole book of bad guys, which I love. They're killing it. And yeah, that makes total sense. And hopefully being in proximity, maybe there's some osmosis that can happen there.
All right, so I think there's a few topics that we're going to have to wait for probably till next week. We'll see if we can talk about the Bertoncini thing. I definitely want to mention, go over here to Splash Damage, the passing of Totalbiscuit.
Yes.
Where, regardless of maybe things he did in the past that were a bit awkward or uncomfortable or sometimes certainly seen as negative and bad, his overall contributions, I think, to the gaming community, and certainly near the end when essentially he's just trying to sort of, proselytize about awesome games that he likes, and there's story after story in the gaming industry that said until he made a video about their game, they were not successful. They were literally going to close up shop, and then he writes about it, and they sell 100,000 copies, and they can make an expansion, and so on and so forth. That's a real thing that happens. So John Peter Bain, July 8th, 1984 to May 24th, 2018. It's always weird to me when my life is, literally encompassed his. I was born in 1980 and I'm still here. So, you know, during my lifetime, he had his lifetime. And so for those who mourn him, we wanted to mark the passing.
Yeah, he is a enormous name in esports. Obviously, he had some, just like anyone who has a following as big as he does, he's going to have some level of controversy associated with him. His was tangential-ish related to all of the Gamergate kind of related things, but when in passing, it's better to look back at their triumphs. And he was extremely popular in the YouTube community. The level of fame and renown and popularity that he had for shoutcasting StarCraft and games like PlanetSide, and also bringing up these indie games. That was one of the big things. Again, like Evan said, that once Totalbiscuit talked about your game on the Cynical Brit, it was then you became relevant as a game designer, and he certainly helped a lot of folks in announcing and in shoutcasting and video game circles. And you know, my roommate Josh Sutherland did a couple of events with him back in the day as well. He was diagnosed with colorectal cancer in 2015, and I had heard he was getting. I thought he was getting better, but colorectal cancer is a bastard. And takes a lot of folks, and so all of our thoughts out to Jenna, who's also a YouTube person, and the rest of the folks that knew him.
All right, so we're going to move here to the finisher, where we begin with our giveaway. Congratulations to Martin K. from Madison Heights, Michigan.
Oh!
Yes. So Martin, we will be in contact with you to get you your gift certificate. So congratulations on that. And so let's see here. Let's move on here to your finisher, sir. Reddit user Evil_Henchman correctly predicted more than 12 months ago the timing of Dominaria and now our return to Ravnica several months before the official announcements for either. His official prediction for planar visit after Ravnica? Viren, Jace Beleren's home plane, because as they state, quote, whatever happens on Ravnica will concern Jace and it will be logical to investigate it further. So now that it's all but assured that we'll be going to the old Mage Rings with JC and Michelle's high school reunion. I love that, by the way. What other worlds are you hoping to see Magic go to in the future, Aaron?
Well, I got my wish with the Return to Ravnica coming in the fall, and we got a brand new episode of MTG Cribs for Liliana and Dominaria, but there's one more grand graveyard I'm looking forward to Magic visiting soon. From the mind of one of horror's greatest minds, coming Halloween 2020, George Romero presents The Set of the Living Dead. Like, yes, all
Love
zombies,
it.
5 colors, gimme.
Starving to death and haven't died. I feel nothing. Not the wind on my face or the spray of the sea, nor the warmth of a woman's flesh. You best start believing in Garrick Wildspeaker stories, Magic players. You're in one.
Well, look, there are a ton of mysteries yet to be solved. Who is the Raven Man? What's up with Nissa? How does Gristlebrand eat with hooks for hands? That's weird. But most importantly, we need to get to the bottom of the greatest mystery of them all. After Jace became the Guild Pact and banished Azor, did he update his terms of service and privacy policy to comply with the general data protection regulations? This is really important. We really need... You cannot get away from this ever. Never.
That's the Azorius thing to do. Like, that is so Azorius.
Oh, my God. That's fantastic. So, we're going to try something new this week, okay? They have this credits option thing, the end credits, which should highlight the people who gave bits and subscribed and stuff. We're going to see if it works. I have no idea if this is going to work.
Oh my God, drum roll.
But I'm scared. And Ruben, if you have the stream up, make sure maybe if it's something I can't see,
I'll take a look.
That'll be
weird.
So
are you gonna be saying the outro while the credits are rolling?
I'll say the outro while the credits are running. Let's make it happen. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. Of course.
Jeez.
Sorry, guys. I don't know.
I don't know.
We'll have to test that one later. That was failure on the launch pad right there. Gosh, I'm sorry. We'll figure this out.
It's fine.
That ends someday. #professionals. That ends another episode of Magic Mics. Thank you for joining us here live to discuss all things Magic. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Ruben.
Thank you, Mr. Orange.
Yeah, well, I want to thank Our
outro didn't work so well. It's like, Mr. Orange, I don't feel so good.
Well, I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsor, CardHoarder.com. You guys for watching or listening, and hope you support us at Patreon.com/MagicMikes. Visit our website at MagicMikesPodcast.com that I'm trying to get back up because something happened to it. Or follow, like, tweet, share, subscribe, and do everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online at twitch.tv at Magic Mikes, on Twitter at Magic Mikes Cast, our Magic Mikes subreddit, and like Magic Mikes on Facebook. Talk to us privately at MagicMikesPodcast@gmail.com. Follow the audio-only podcast at MagicMikesPodcast.libsyn.com, or find us on iTunes, or join us here next week, same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mikes. Good night, everybody.